Greetings, the people of YouTube. People on the tube for you. And greetings to all you knife people out there on tube for you. Here we go. So this is going to be a review. I'm trying to straighten my camera up. Here we go. This is going to be a review. Wait, what is this doing here? Get out of here. Wait. Shoot. That's what I meant to put down. This is going to be a review on the Benchmade Phaeton. Phaeton. Well, it's spelled Phaeton, but, I just say Phaeton. I hear people say Phaeton. It almost sounds like photon. But yeah, it's the Phaeton. Anyway, and I wanted to do a video on this because searching YouTube, I was able to find some videos on this knife, but mostly they seem to be like 1 or 2 minute videos, and some of them involve people basically, like, I don't know if their mouth is sewed shut or what, but they're just kind of showing it, which is fine. They just show the camera, and then that's the end of the video. And a couple other people have done more lengthy reviews on it, but I feel like it deserves a little bit more attention. So anyway, this is a model that was released, I believe, in like 2017. I'm doing this video in September of 2021. So I think this was released in 2017. And then it was discontinued. Just, I think, a couple years later. I think they discontinued this in maybe 2019, maybe somewhere around there. And I actually was able to find a really good deal on my first one of these. I found it new for $183, which is unheard of. I think after shipping and tax and everything, I paid like $198. And that was the black and stonewashed version. And then what I really wanted was the dark earth. And I ended up finding a dark earth one on the secondary market, but that one had a lot of blade play, side to side and up and down. So I ended up selling both of those. I kind of, you guys maybe have this too, where you're really into one type of knife and then you start to kind of drift away towards other stuff. So at the time I was really into OTFs, and then I started to kind of drift more towards button locks and axis locks. I was really into other Benchmades and stuff. So I ended up selling both of those, even though I told myself that the black and stonewash one was going to be a never sell. Anyway, so ended up selling both of those. They were both stonewashed blades, and ended up regretting it. So when I saw that KnifeWorks had a coupon code for 22% off of Benchmades recently here, I went on to KnifeWorks, and I did a search for Benchmade, and it's out of stock. People taking advantage of that, getting their, only paying 78% of the full retail of the knife. So most of the stuff was out of stock, except for, a couple bug outs and, a few other kind of older models, and like the, Infidels, Autocrats, and a couple Phaetons. So, this knife, if you don't know, this knife retails for $340. If you buy it through Benchmade, it's $400 even. But most places you'll find it anywhere from, it's usually either $323 or $340 you'll find it for. So on KnifeWorks, this was listed at $340, but with the coupon code, which, by the way, you can still use the coupon code. It's B as in boy, BR549. BR549. It was 22% off, and I just tried it yesterday, and now it's working for 15% off, which is still good, and there's still a few models available to grab on KnifeWorks. So I don't know why they changed the amount, but it's down to 15% off now, which is still really good. So I ended up picking this up. I paid, I think it was $265.20 after the discount. And KnifeWorks is cool because they don't charge tax to ship to Ohio, where I am, and they have the free shipping. So I paid $265, which is more than what I paid for the first couple that I had, but those were not DLC. This version, this is the 4600 DLC-1. The -1 denotes that it's the dark earth, and the DLC denotes that it's, oh my god, look at that. I gotta wipe, hold on, wipe that off. The DLC denotes that it is DLC. Is that diamond-like carbon or diamond-like coating? I've heard it both ways. I want to say it's diamond-like carbon. Anyway, DLC. I had something on the blade there. Okay, I think I got it. We're good. Uh, oh, by the way, I can't speak all of a sudden. If you have a DLC blade and it starts to look brown, like for me, I use alcohol to clean my stuff a lot of times. And I find when I wipe the blade with alcohol, it starts to look brown instead of black. If you have that happen, just use some oil. Wipe the blade with some oil, and it brings back that kind of lustrous black look that it should have. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera right now, but this does look black. Um, it's got a mirror on it right now. Um, it's got a mirror that I put on it. So anyway, dimensions on this knife. Oh, let's see what we got here. Dimensions on this knife are, this thing is, oh, if I would hold the ruler the correct way, that'd be great. It's just shy of 8 inches. The blade length is about 3 and maybe 3.4 inches. Usable length, just over 3 1/4. So it's not bad. A lot of OTFs have really bad blade to handle ratios. This handle looks right at about 4.5. That's actually really not that bad. It doesn't bother me at all. And we can get a weight on this guy too. Well, let's see what we got for the weight. The weight, 3.04 ounces, which I think is great. That's less than 1 ounce an inch, which I think is fantastic. And that's something that I don't know that I've seen a lot of people really talk about, but it is less than 1 ounce an inch, which is fantastic. It's S30V steel, which I think in this day and age is still really great. I really like S30V. The action on this is very kind of staccato, very short and to the point, like you'd want an OTF to be. I find the action never seems to really come across on camera like you want it to. Let me hold it really close and see if I can get it. Hold to the mic. Anyway, it has a really satisfying, almost like a kind of hollow on the way in. Sometimes it's hard to describe, but you can really feel it. It comes in and out with authority. And the other thing is that I have not had any misfires on any of the ones I've owned. So this is the third Phaeton that I've owned. I've never had a misfire on any of them, and I've fired them all many, many times. Never had a misfire. So I don't have it to take apart right now. But if you open these up and open up the knife, you find that there are 2 springs attached to the front and rear operators on both sides. Then you have your slide and the locks. There's 2 locks. You've got your front lock and your rear lock, and the locks are very long. Let me get my ruler back out so I can kind of show you. So if you look at a Microtech, for example, nobody seems to talk about locks very much, so I wanted to mention this. You look at a Microtech, the locks inside a Microtech are probably about 1/4 of an inch long, right? That seems about right. About 1/4 of an inch long, I would say. The locks inside the Phaeton are more like 1/2 inch. They're about double the length and about the same width. So what you get with that is a lot of stability, especially for stabbing. An OTF is only going to be as strong with the stabbing motion as the front lock is holding the blade out. And it's only going to be as strong as that lock, and it's only going to be as strong as the aluminum behind it. If it deforms the aluminum, then you're going to destroy the handle material. The blade is going to retract at least partially, and you're going to have yourself a broke knife that will not stay locked outward, which can also be dangerous for the user and for anybody around you. Anyway, so the locks are really, really beefy on this. I've not heard anybody else talk about that. The locks are fantastic on this knife. You can tell that the milling around where the lock goes is done just right. The fit on that is great. The springs that push the locks, I've never had any of the springs get loose or try to kind of walk around within the slot. Even with lubrication, they always seem to stay put. It's great. So that's really, really well done. One thing I did notice also about this knife was that all three of them, when I received them, they had spring sing, which can be remedied pretty easily. That had pretty significant spring sing. Like you couldn't really hear it, but you could feel it. You could feel the vibration. It's like hitting a hollow pole with a baseball bat, dong, like a bell. And you could really feel the spring sing. And if you hold the knife up to your ear, if you held the knife real close up to your ear, you'd hear the dong. You like my impression? It's great. Anyway, but you can fix spring sing in any OTF. One moment. I'm going to leave the room. You can fix spring sing by using this. I use this Finish Line Extreme Fluoro grease. This is fluorinated grease. You can buy this on Amazon. I think it's maybe like $10 or something. I've used way too much of it. I've gone to push it out of the syringe and had a couple times where way too much came out. I've had this for months. I've used it on, I can't even tell you, probably at least a dozen OTFs, and I still have half a tube left. So this stuff really lasts. A little goes a long way. Anyway, you can put the grease along the spring. The way I do it is I put the grease along the spring all the way across. Lubrication's never going to hurt. Put the grease all the way across on the springs, and then when you take the top part off, inside there's channels where the springs sit. You can even put some grease along those two channels, one for each spring. Get a fairly liberal amount of grease. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to gum it up or anything. In fact, quite the opposite. It's going to make sure it's lubricated and working well. It's going to protect it from moisture. And then for the locks, I usually just use oil. For a while I was using KPL. Lately here I've been using Gunny Glide, which I really like. So I use oil on the locks, maybe just a little kind of dot of oil along where the slide and the slide sits on the aluminum. Use oil for that, and then use grease on the springs. And that completely eliminates any kind of spring sing. Here, I'm going to hold it right up to the mic, see if you can hear anything. I believe it would have been pronounced enough that you would notice it. I think you would tell. It might be tough for you to hear if it was still doing that, but I don't know. You can actually see I put a little bit of grease on the actuator switch, and you can still, I just did this last night. I actually added a little bit more because I was getting a little bit of spring sing coming back, and you can tell, if you look closely, there's still a little bit of grease along the side. I also, what I did is I put grease down in the groove right here on each side too, just to make sure that the slider is very smooth. And when you do that, it really does result in a much smoother action. You can kind of hear, you can still hear it sliding against the aluminum, but overall it's very slick. I mean, check that out. That's awesome. Never misfired. So it's really slick. It feels very smooth. It's not as smooth as like a Guardian Tactical with the ball bearings on the slide, but it is very smooth. And that brings me to my next point, which is, why did you discontinue this model, Benchmade? They released the Ohm earlier this year. The Ohm is the really short OTF. I mean, the Ohm is like, the handle's like that long, and then the blade comes out to like here. It's just an itty bitty kind of small EDC OTF, which is cool, but they are charging like $270, $280 at retailers anyway. It's like $280 or something for a really small Ohm OTF, which also has S30V. So it's still very expensive. When at $340, if you're paying that much for this, it is still very expensive. And, you are paying for that butterfly tax that everybody talks about. But man, I'm telling you, this is one of the best OTFs that I've handled, and I've owned. I haven't had a whole ton of OTFs, but I've had Microtechs, I've had Ultratechs, UTX 85s, several of those. I've had maybe like 8 Ultratechs and 4 or 5 UTX 85s. I've had a UTX 70. I've had a bunch of different types of clones and stuff in the past. I've got rid of all my clones. So I won't be buying any more clones uh, for OTFs. I try to stay away from clones generally, although I am guilty. I have bought them before. Um, but that's another story for another day. But anyway, uh, if it weren't for the price, this would be recommendable to literally anyone. It's the price is the barrier, and that is probably why it got discontinued. If they had been able to keep the price down, if Benchmade was able to keep the price down, even to just $300, even $40 less, I think this could have been a really huge hit for them. It must have been at least a moderate success because you can find clones of this on all those websites you guys know about. You can find clones of this. Unfortunately, back when I was buying clones, I did buy a clone of this, and the locks inside the clone version, the locks are tiny. They're very, very thin. They're about the same length as like a Microtech lock. Very, very thin. They're kind of bent like this. They're just poorly, poorly made. And the first clone Phaeton that I had, I'm not even kidding. It was like an hour after I had it. I was deploying it and retracting it, and upon retracting, it destroyed the aluminum inside. What happened was the lock didn't engage properly. It got twisted, and then the blade, the force from the spring of the blade, wedged the lock into the aluminum, and it's a lower quality aluminum. So the lock actually cut into the inside of the aluminum and destroyed the chassis of the knife. There was no way. It wasn't one of those things where I could just open it and reseat the lock and then I'm back in business. No, it actually destroyed the aluminum housing, and the knife could not be used. It was broken. So I sent that knife back in and got a replacement. They were kind enough to send me a replacement. When I got the replacement, instead of an hour, it took about a minute or two for it to do the same thing. So I fired that knife uh, probably less than 10 times. And the same thing happened in the same spot. The rear lock got twisted, got jammed into the aluminum. The aluminum was so soft and poorly made that it actually cut into the aluminum, which destroyed the ability for the knife to stay closed. It would still lock outward, both would, but it destroyed the ability for the knife to stay closed at all, and just completely ruined it. So that, among other reasons, is a couple of the main reasons why I decided to go away from clones. I have a job. I don't make a ton of money. I make pretty much minimum wage. Used to make a lot more money in the past, but different circumstances in my life kind of got me to the point where I'm making minimum wage now. So $340 or even $265 is a lot of money to me now. It really is. But I still feel like it's worth it for the Benchmade Phaeton. Even at $340, I think it would be worth it. If you're a big fan of OTFs, this thing is so reliable. The locks are so beefy. I haven't even talked about the Ergos yet. The Ergos, I think, are really comfortable. This is not a knife that tells your hand where to be. It doesn't tell your fingers where to be. You can hold it any way you want. I've got, definitely larger than average size hands. I'm 6'4", so I'm a big guy. I have pretty big hands, and I have plenty of room to hold this knife. The jimping, or I'm sorry, the kind of knurling here and here. I've heard other people say they think it's useless. I think that's a bunch of hooey. It's absolutely useful. If you're holding the knife like that, making a cut like this absolutely grips. It definitely grips. It does a really good job, but it's not so much that you're thinking about it the whole time you're using it. You know, the switch is a really, really great kind of simple design on the switch. It does not dig into your thumb like some others do. Like I know people talk about Microtex digging into their thumb. This is not like that. It's pretty minimal. It's really, really well designed in terms of not being too tall. I've seen others that are really tall. I mean, check this out. It's easy to actuate. Not so much that it's going to go off in your pocket, but I mean, if I can just do it like that, it's really, really nice. It feels just about the right amount of tension to go in and out. So I really like pretty much everything about the knife. It doesn't have a glass breaker. I don't know if, you know, if you're big into glass breakers, that could be a deal breaker for you. But I'm not. It's not that important to me. It comes standard with a deep carry Benchmade clip with the engraved butterfly. I really like that. Pretty much everything about the knife I like. It is a thin blade in terms of height. So you don't get crazy sliciness out of it. I don't know I'd have to get my calipers out and check the thickness behind the edge. I won't do it now, but I think the thickness behind the edge was like, I think it might have been 22 thousandths or something like that. I know it was on the thicker side, but in terms of EDC cutting and daily cutting, I have not noticed any problems with anything. In fact, here. So as an example, if I can find it, here we go. We got a piece of phone book paper. Now this is with a, did I do 20 or 18 on this? I think I did 18 degrees per side on this. And it is a polished edge done on a wicked edge, but I'm not having any trouble slicing through anything. So now that's just phone book paper. That's not EDC tasks. But if I can do that with phone book paper, I can't imagine really having much of anything else that I'm not going to be able to cut through with this. So anyway, this is almost 22 minutes long, so I'm going to wrap it up here. But basically, what I wanted to say was, sorry, I'm trying to throw this stuff away and I'm missing the can. Anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is that I think the Phaeton was a great knife that was really hindered by its price, first and foremost. It is one of the best, if not the best, production OTFs I have handled and seen. I really like the Ultratech. I mean, I love Microtech. I don't currently own any. But in terms of just how lightweight it is and just how good it feels in the hand, it's lighter than an Ultratech. It doesn't misfire at all. I've had almost all of my Ultratechs misfired occasionally, not all of them, but I even had enough problems with one that it really did require being opened up and adjusted and greased and oiled and all that stuff. I might have been able to spray Rem oil like they recommend in there and gotten away with that, but I ended up having to open it myself, and that fixed the problem. But I've had 3 Phaetons, and none of them have ever even thought about misfiring. They've never come close, ever. Even with repeated. I mean, look, it's so easy to fire that I can do that all day. It's awesome, so good. By the way, also, fit and finish. Look at the fit and finish on this. Look how well that's matched. It's such a great job on this. It really, really is well made. It's so well done. It's just such a shame that it had to be discontinued. If they just could have got that price down, that would have been amazing. Anyway, the ohm is pretty cool. It's just small, so I'm hoping that we will see at some point another single edge full size OTF from Benchmade. Hopefully in the 300 or sub 300 category. I think they could have a hit on their hands if they take some of the cues from this and they're able to get the price down. I mean, I think you should be able to do S30V and make another OTF and not have to downgrade, so to speak, to like 154 CM or anything like that. Nowadays, you should be able to get S30V on a good quality OTF, have the same fit and finish. You guys should be able to do that for 300 or less, Benchmade. You should be able to do that. And if you can do that, I think you really, really would have something on your hands. So anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to talk about how great I think this knife is. This one, I really, truly am planning on keeping this in the collection permanently now. This really is the configuration I wanted the most. I did want the dark earth. I wanted the DLC, and I got it for, you know, about $80 less than it would have cost me at full price for that 340. So I'm very happy about that. So anyway, that's all, guys. I definitely recommend you check out a Phaeton if you can get your hands on one, just not a clone. I don't really recommend clones really for anything, but there's that. Also, by the way, this is the axial shift OTF that I showed at the beginning of the video. I'll do another review on this soon. I received this about 4 or 5 days ago. I bought this when they had the bundle on sale. This is the S35 VN version, and it's also really interesting. So it's cool. I mean, spoiler alert, it's nice. Anyway, all right, I keep saying that's all, and then I'm not going. So, okay, for real, that's all now. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.